The new covenant is an amazing thing. There are two covenants, and we refer to the Old Covenant or the Old Testament, the New Covenant or the New Testament. The Old Covenant was a covenant that was a natural covenant. It was a behavioral covenant. It was a covenant that everyone came to the same place, read the same piece of paper, wore the same kind of clothes, ate the same kind of foods, worshipped on the same days, all those. The same, that was the Old Covenant, behavioral. The New Covenant was promised in Jeremiah 31, and it says that in this New Covenant, no man is going to need his neighbor to tell him what the law says, because I'm going to write the law on each one's heart. Now, here's the interesting thing. We read that and we expected him to write the same thing on every heart, right? I mean, but interestingly enough, in the New Covenant, not the same thing is written on every heart, because everyone is unique and amazing. And this gives the people with an Old Covenant mentality a lot of trouble. If you go to Romans, and especially in Romans chapter 14 says, well, one person has one day of the week that they esteem higher than any other day, and that's the day that they worship. And God accepts that. That's good. That's what God wrote in their heart. And so then he goes, there's another one who thinks every day is the day that we should worship. And he doesn't lift one day above the others, but all the days are the same. And you know what? And God says that's okay too. Look, God wrote something a little different in his heart. All right. And another one says, well, you know what? One has a very, very strict and specific diet. And God approves of that. And another eats whatever they can find. They don't have any limitations on their diet, and God approves of that too. This is very hard for us. This is not like the Old Covenant at all. This is a covenant that is alive. It's a covenant that is a relational covenant. I am a father and a grandfather. I have 3 daughters. I love all of my daughters immensely. But if I were to treat them all exactly the same, 2 of them would always have to know that the other one was a favor, because the way I would be treating them would be working for one and wouldn't work for the other 2. What is fair? Fair is to give people what they need, what they're built for. Giving everyone the same thing is not fair at all. Because not everyone needs the same thing. That is not what justice is. And so understanding that God puts in each of us individually, and he's working in your heart. If you're a believer, he's working in your heart on what's a best diet for you and what's a good exercise program for you, and how to dress, all the stuff. He's working it in your heart. And so the new covenant is not a conforming covenant. It's not something we put on from the outside. The new covenant is a transforming covenant built out of relationship with God. And every individual in the new covenant is unique. And so God help us to love the rest of our family, even though they don't look just like us.